So welcome back to the channel. For those who are new, my name is Aga. I am an Australian currently living in Singapore. You have learned the 3 things to know before you invest in Bali. For me, it's all about the budget, location, and your ROI. A bit about my background. I've been investing in investment properties for quite a while now, and I've bought and sold many properties in Australia. To be fair, I actually was one of those people who grew up in that environment where buying property early and investing in property was, I suppose, the main form of investment and tax reduction in Australia. So for those who don't know, in Australia we have a negative gear plan where you can invest in a property, and basically the difference between your mortgage and all your outgoings and your rental is tax deductible. So it's actually one of the best ways to reduce your tax by owning investment property. So the idea of buying investment property seems attractive, but over time, especially now as the interest rates have got higher, it becomes less and less ideal if you're wanting to retire or basically putting your money to work. And so over many years of investing and doing that, we never really thought about what we would do with our properties until you start to get a little bit older and you start to realize, holy cow, what do I actually need to do to retire? And that's when we started to think about divesting outside of Australia. So over the last couple of years, we've headed off to Europe. We went to Portugal, we went to Spain, and to be honest, we love both those locations, and the property prices are actually very realistic. And we made an offer for a 2-bedroom apartment in Lisbon, and unfortunately my wife's dad got quite ill, and so we had to fly back to America, and the deal never went through. And then the following year we went to Barcelona. We love Barcelona. We love the food, we love the people, we love the culture, and once again the property price is actually quite reasonable, and we thought, well, maybe we should buy a property here, until we saw on the news all the locals waterbombing all the tourists and basically saying, get out of our city. And that to me was a bit disappointing. As much as we love the city, we realized the locals don't like expats like us pushing up the prices, which we've seen across other parts of Europe. So that was a really disappointing. So eventually, through some friends, believe it or not, who had invested in Bali, had told us about their story and why they did it, but more importantly, what sort of returns they were getting through their Airbnb. And that to me was the aha moment that actually made me think, well, maybe we've got this whole property investment in Australia wrong. But before I delve into that, let's get into the nitty-gritties of the things you need to know before you invest through my experience, or our experience, my wife and I. And please take this information, do with it what you will, but please do your own due diligence, as this is definitely not financial advice. Now, first of all, first thing that we made sure of was our budget. And the reason we basically wanted to set a budget was because in Bali, you can buy quite a cheap 1-bedroom apartment, or on the other end, you could probably buy a 5-6 bedroom, beautiful villa somewhere that would also fit your purpose. The problem I found was that, you see one and you go, wow, this is nice. And then you go look at another one and you go, wow, this is even better. And then all of a sudden your budget kept creeping up. And then, where do you actually stop? So for us, our budget was, I suppose, predetermined. We'd recently sold one of our apartments in Brisbane, and we wanted to use the property to flip that to pay for our villa with cash. And so that was important. Or as much as I was really excited about these high-end properties, the one thing that my wife kept coming back to me was that, if this is going to be our first property like we did in Australia many years ago, should we not use that to test the market, to see what you could get for the money that we had, see what services were there in terms of, the tradies and everyone else, and then kind of use that to determine what we would do for the next one. And if we did, we'd spend a little bit more money, but we'd also know that we would find the people that we would need and how to navigate through all of that. So the first thing I would say is make sure that you set yourself a budget, and more importantly, if it's the first time in Bali, stick to that budget and then just basically, make sure you learn everything that you need to know about that. So the next one, you will always see people say it's all about location, location, location. And without a doubt, I think with us and with our friends, that has been the biggest thing that sets everything apart, other than the budget, is the location. So as an example, so for us, we're married, we have no kids. We are looking for a totally different lifestyle than our friends that have children. And as an example of that, we've chose to build quite close to Canggu. And main reasons, it's got all the bars, the great restaurants, it's got padel, it's got a whole bunch of really great gyms and yoga and studios and the beach. On the other hand, our friends with children have chosen to go south of the island. Suits them because they don't want to be in the busy part of Canggu and having to navigate all the traffic and that. Yes, there's more infrastructure. Yes, there is, you can get from place to place. It will take you time. But for them, it was about being in one place in the villa with their family and not really having to move around. So that will determine where you will purchase, buy, and everything else. So please look into that. I think there are several distinctive locations, and Canggu being one, Uluwatu, so south of the island, Ubud, which is around the center of the island, Nusa Dua, which is on the eastern side of the island. And they all have their own distinct niches, I suppose, is the best way to describe it. Canggu, generally for younger individuals who want to go out, enjoy the nightlife, ton of gyms, ton of great beaches, really nice food, but it's for the younger, more mobile, probably single and, with their friends traveling around, adventuring around Bali. Uluwatu, Nusa Dua really is attracting a high-end market. It really caters to the family. Night rates are generally higher, and it's not a little, it's a lot further out of all the traffic and the hustle and bustle of Bali. Very suited for families. And Ubud, which is right in the middle of the island, is really, I suppose, for people wanting to do their wellness packages. So you tend to have a lot of the retreats in the middle. It's a lot further out of town, a lot more exploration in terms of tours and things like that. But people like to be there to detox, to get off grid and all of that. Suits that type of person, right? So once again, for us, we wanted to be in the middle of the hustle and bustle because we wanted to access to bars and restaurants. But maybe our next one, we'll probably go down south because the beaches look a lot more amazing than that. But for us right now, that was the best location. The one thing I will say is investing in Australia has its pros and cons. And for us, it has been, I suppose, a steady income in terms of rental. However, over the last few years, the mortgage rates have increased. So our mortgage repayments have almost doubled. And the gap between rent and mortgage and body corporate and all these other things that you need to pay, it's just got larger and larger. And it just made, to me, investing in Australia not that attractive anymore. So when we looked at the ROI in Bali, we were really focused not so much on how much capital gains we would make, but what sort of money would we make on a monthly basis, and did that achieve above or beyond what our expectations was. So to be fair, the first thing that was quite attractive for us is most of the nightly rates are in US dollars. So if you're living in Australia and Singapore, that's very attractive. Secondly, for most of the people that invest in Bali, they're not taking out a mortgage. So the property's been paid for cash, and which means any rental income you get is basically all cash, less your taxes and obviously your maintenance and everything else. I'll do a separate video on that, but that's an important thing to look at. So what we found though, due to the occupancy rates, which they say it's about 65%, but in Canggu it's probably more in the 80%. It can be higher. That your rental income is actually quite attractive. And in our point, I think the rental income for this villa that we'll build in Bali will make more money than all our current 3 investment properties in Australia. Now that is quite stunning when you think that we have 3 mortgages that we have to top up every month, or a villa in Bali that is basically giving us cash flow positive. So for us, that made a lot of sense in terms of ROI. Once again, I will do a video on the numbers so you can have a look, but even if you take out the maintenance, the local taxes and everything else, you will be further in front. And don't forget, it is also in US dollars, so you get a bit of a lift on the foreign currency. I think hopefully by watching this video to the end, you have learned the 3 things to know before you invest in Bali. For me, it's all about the budget, location, 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 and your ROI. If you have liked what you've seen, please let us know in your comments. I really appreciate your thoughts. If you have any questions, please ask me. If you actually want to know why we decided to do this, hit the link above. We will add our previous video that will show you. But the one thing I'm very, very excited about, and we just put together, was if you want to know more about investing in Bali, I created an ebook especially for you based on all the questions I got from friends asking about why you're investing in Bali. I've put that together. I will put it in the description below, but also hit the link. We'll send a copy out to you. And once again, hopefully you'll find that helpful. I'm sure you'll have more questions, so please feel free to put that in the comment sections and I'll get back to you straight away. So that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed this video and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.